Yeah, hello, welcome to this video about round 9 of the Biel tournament. Yeah, again an exciting round. Really a pretty amazing tournament with lots of decisive fighting games. We had one draw today between Anish Giri and Magnus Carlsen, where I think it was pretty much equal all the way, but it was an interesting game nonetheless. But well, a draw at the end, so Magnus keeps his lead, and this is due to Wang Hao losing a game actually with black against Victor Bologan, the tail ender of the field. But Bologan played a really interesting, enterprising game against Wang Hao, and after a very complicated battle he won. And this is actually also a hot candidate for being game of the day. The only issue being that I just returned home close to midnight here my time, or 1 hour to midnight, so I simply don't have the time to give this game a proper analysis and make a video. I think this is the kind of game where we could easily do a 1 hour video and I simply cannot make it today. And also the other game, which ended decisively, Bacrot Nakamura, was interesting as well. So I'll take a look at this, and actually with this game I feel I can give some pretty decent information. With the other game, I mean, I could have shown it, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to do any decent commentary at this time of day. So let's do Bacrot versus Nakamura. And it starts with d4. Bacrot played e4 last round and lost to Giri, so back to d4. And we got a Slav defense and semi-Slav actually. Yeah, here White's main tries of course are e3 and bishop g5. And Bacrot opts for e3 here. Knight bd7 and queen c2, which is one of the main lines here of the semi-Slav Meran variation. Bishop d6 and bishop d3, just developing pieces. Yeah, here black has some choice. He can also castle at this point, which is maybe the most popular way to play this. So it's castles, and here black has various ideas, but one main idea is to just capture and play b5. And this is interesting to look at because we got something similar in the game, but with a very important twist. So let's go back to the game. Nakamura immediately took on c4, which is a bit uncommon. Usually you castle first. He played b5. White dropped the bishop back to d3. Here's a principled alternative is also bishop e2. The idea being that let's say it continues bishop b7, castles, rook d1, that White can position a rook here directly opposite to the queen, so that those freeing moves are more difficult for black to achieve. So the bishop on e2 also makes some sense. It is less good positioned here to play in the center with e4. So quite often bishop d3 signals some other ideas than this kind of setup, where it's mostly about trying to prevent or make it difficult for black to play those pawn breaks. In the game he played bishop d3, bishop b7, and here I think White could have played just castles. He didn't do it, but he could have played just castles here. And I'm not quite sure. I think it's most likely just a transposition, as black castles now. We've got e4, e5, and we got a position which has been played quite a number of times. It's something like this here. And this has been played a couple of times already. In the game, it's slightly different because he plays e4 immediately, simply threatening the fork on the two pieces here. So black needs to reply e5. Takes on e5, bishop e5. Yeah, and now still castles, I think, would simply transpose to a known line. I'm not sure that black has something better than castling himself. So like castles, and then h3 would be the main line. But here Bacrot tried something else. He played f4, which is a very interesting move. It has been played before, but this position is very rare. I just found a couple of games, I think less than 10 games with this. The idea is of course very straightforward. He attacks the bishop, and yeah, black cannot afford to make a passive move here like this one, like bishop here for instance, as white simply can approach here with d5, and it gets really a bit tricky for black. He played exactly the way he should play. He played bishop to d4. It's much more logical, of course, also, because this is a really strong piece, preventing white from castling short. And, well, a bishop in the middle of the board is, yeah, it's quite a good piece. It has a concrete idea, though, for white. He played e5 now, attacking the knight, which has to move, and Nakamura played knight d5, I think by far the most logical move. We could have considered this one with direct ideas, but white plays the intended move knight e4 anyway, and the knight is simply worse on g4 compared to d5, as this idea is not possible anymore. This is a bit stranded, this piece on g4. I think it was very logical to go here. In this position, white played knight e4, which is, I think, the best move. He could have considered, if you want a somewhat simpler position, he could have considered to just take on d5. Something like this. And the idea being to play rook d1 and try to do something with this pin on the d file, like rook d1, bishop c3, things like this. I think this should be about equal, maybe. But what white played was more ambitious and not bad at all. He played this knight e4 move, and this, of course, has a very direct threat, so black needs to react now instantly. He played bishop to knight to b4, and okay, this is double attack. The queen needs to move. White, if white would give the check here, this intermediate check, the issue is you can just give the queen here, and
check.
A position like this is just losing for white. Got those two amazing bishops, and the d6 pawn has no support and will get lost. It's an extra pawn for black, and huge advantage in activity in addition, so just impossible to play. He needed to go here, which is what he did. And now Hikaru, well, this knight was also hanging, just grabbed the bishops here and castled. And this is really a pretty interesting position, where white has got, I mean, you can put the next move on the board. He's got this great knight on d6, which heavily restricts black's pieces. So what black is playing now pretty much amounts to being the only real move that is playable, bishop c5. The bishop, of course, also was hanging, and what he wants to do simply is to take this piece. You cannot tolerate a knight there. Bishop c5, the only move. Now white went bishop e3, which is also, I think, the best move. You need to get your stuff developed. And here black captured on d6. You need to get rid of the knight. Of course, white, after taking with the pawn, obtains a dangerous pass pawn on the d-file, but you simply cannot play against such knight on d6. He needed to take. And black has got some compensation for this nuisance here with the d-pawn.
Check.
He can give this check, which he did, And now we see that white's king is in a bit of a bother here. What should white play here? He played g3, which is logical, but it very much weakens the light squares. And of course, black has a nice bishop here that might use the long diagonal. He could have considered playing a king move, but this is also very ugly. A move like this here looks simply ugly for white. It's not completely lost or something, but looks difficult. Black would most likely just jettison a pawn here, or possibly white would take. But taking here, for example, is very dangerous after this move. With the threat, bishop takes g2, winning the queen. And if the queen moves somewhere, then black just obtains a very strong attack. Moving the king doesn't really help the king. I mean, g3 is a move. Let's just return here. He played g3, which really weakens squares, and you don't want to do that. But, well, the weakened squares are mostly a problem for the king position. And the king position on f1 is also bad, so g3 is perfectly okay. Queen to h5. Queen h3 also was possible. Queen h5. And in this position, yeah, white needs to think about what black's next move might be, what his intention is. And it's pretty obvious that black's next move will be c5. No matter what white plays, next move will be c5. You absolutely need to get this piece into play. If white just to show it, let's say an alternative, rook c1, just to show. If black now plays some slow move, which doesn't really alter the position, let's say something like this here, then white can simply put a piece on c5 and block all this. Maybe black has got some other tactical idea. Maybe can play something like bishop c8 in this concrete position, actually allowing this take. I'm not sure, but what I want to say is this bishop needs to play, and c5 is the move that black really must play at some point, just not caring about a pawn. So black on rook c1 will play c5. It's just mandatory. You need to get this piece into play. And then it might continue rook c5. Note that this rook was hanging, but rook c5 also attacks the queen. So maybe queen h3 next move. And rook g1. And it's really a messy position. There are also alternatives. Instead of taking on c5, white could also... Oh, I just messed up the move order, I think. Rook c1 is what he played. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the game continuation. And what I was wanting to show is white could also castle here. White could also castle here. Then c5, activating the bishop as mentioned. And then something like this, f5. c4, queen d4. A very unclear position. I think black should be okay because, well, this king position is a cause for concern all the time with this really strong b7 bishop. But this is really a strong passed pawn, so a very unclear, complicated position. It could end. Yeah, all three results are possible in this kind of game. The kind of example where opposite colored bishops here in no way relate to a draw because queens are on the board and white's king is weakened. Very complicated. So castles was a serious alternative. He played rook c1, and I just confused those two moves before. And rook c1 was answered by the mentioned c5. Black doesn't want to see a piece on c5 blocking the bishop. So c5 frees up this piece, and of course white captured here, attacking the queen, and queen moved away. But now, well, the rook is hanging and it needs to move. So after rook g1, black is able to capture on h2 and restore material equality. White also could have considered rook f1. It's not a stupid move. Rook f1 with the possible continuation queen takes, and rook f2. This is a quite interesting idea, leading to this kind of position, where suddenly white's rooks get very active, something like this, and it's really a total mess. This position, really hard to tell what's going on. Just for example, if black plays f6, white could
Check.
even consider taking here.
Check.
And then putting bishop on d4. And this is, yeah, well, totally crazy. Don't know what's going on. White's d-pawn is strong. Now white's bishop has got a nice position. It's totally unclear. I think with not much time on the clock, it's pretty much like a game of roulette how this how this might end. So some interesting alternatives, but Bacrot played the simple looking rook g1, not bad at all. So Hikaru grabbed the pawn on h2, and now rook c2 to get rid of this this annoying queen. It dropped back to h3, and now rook c7. So first driving the queen to a somewhat less attractive post, and now the rook attacks the bishop. Yeah, this bishop actually doesn't have so many squares. Bishop f3 is pretty much the only move. He cannot protect it because the combination of this stuff and d7 is just deadly. Now white just threatens to take and then promote the pawn. Very ugly for black. If he moves the bishop now, which he needs to, then you can simply grab here and everything's hanging. So not very nice. He needs to move the bishop, and he went bishop f3, which is pretty much the only move. In this position, white played king d2, getting the king out of the e-file also. He had an alternative, which I would have preferred, I think. It looks better to me. This is king f2. But of course this is all super complicated. And we see, looking at the time, that Bacrot was down to 12 minutes, while Nakamura was pretty much blitzing out his moves. Was still on 1 hour something, so pretty amazing. Very quickly played all this. So with king f2, what does it do? It simply threatened this bishop, and the bishop needs to move again. There's not much else than the somewhat weird looking bishop h1. The problem being, if black would go here to g4, then this queen d5 is pretty annoying. Rook h1 threatens to win the queen. It is trapped. And what should black play now to attend to this? I think he needs to play bishop b6, attacking this queen. And yeah, at this point, white could simply take here, or could consider the funny move rook h1 with some counter attack. This kind of endgame, for example, is excellent for white, because now the d-pawn really pays off, and it's not a problem anymore that you have a somewhat airy king here, because the queens are off. White should be clearly preferred in this position. So this is interesting, this rook h1. What happens if black moves the queen, let's say here? Then white can go queen h5, threatening mate, and it's a queen trade after all. I think this king f2 move was really worth considering. It's not quite sure how black should defend this. If white gets rid of the queens, he has very serious winning chances. But he played king d2. It's not bad. I mean, king f2 looks a little bit more, let's say, yeah, little bit more solid to me, trying to get rid of the queens. But well, this move is not bad. It's not bad. King d2. So black now played queen to e6. The queen wasn't doing so much anymore on h3, and in this square it actually attacks a pawn and might help to get the bishop to e4. So quite a logical move. And white now with bishop c5, which is also pretty obvious the idea. You want to push d7, attack the rook also with the bishop. And you also just make sure that this pawn doesn't drop at any point. It's always nicely protected now by the bishop. And at the same time, of course, white just attacks this this f3 piece. He dropped this to g4. Let's look quickly what happened at this move. It's possible, but if white just responds here with a normal reply, you've got this idea coming, pinning this this bishop, and black needs to play some pretty unnatural moves now to even make sure that you don't lose it. Take note, you cannot go f5 at some point, because I can actually move it. It's a huge blunder, but just to show it, yeah, white could just play queen g7 checkmate now. So pretty. Let's put it on the board. It's a checkmate. You cannot play f5 to make sure your bishop is on a secure square. Mate is more important after all. So you need to attend to this. Bishop e4 is not good. So you need to go here, and here white can try to improve his position further with b3, which he actually did in the game. a2 was hanging, so a normal simple move. And yeah, well, somehow it seems that the attack that black had is going nowhere, and this pawn is getting stronger and stronger. Hikaru played now bishop f5, also quickly trying to put more pressure on white, who was down to 9 minutes. Yeah, and here in this position, what can you say? It was just starting to get really interesting. Here, Bacrot played rook e1, and here you should just take, let's say, 5 seconds and think about what black should play now. I'll give you 5 seconds, and you can stop the video, of course. Yeah, here Hikaru Nakamura just played check queen e1, and white resigned. So after this, he's just a rook up. Yeah, well, it's nice to see that even super grandmasters like Bacrot can just blunder a rook on a bad day. Yeah, he really did that. He just blundered a whole rook in this position with rook e1, and he was down to 9 minutes, so it wasn't like a really serious time trouble. Yeah, and the most annoying thing about this, I think white had a pretty good position here. If white plays a normal move here, the queen was attacked, yeah. So let's say white plays queen to e2, just to show to put a move on the board. If black now gives this check on d5, white can actually step up with the king. Doesn't mind this king position so much, and now it tends stuff like rook d1 and d7, and black is in really huge trouble here. This check, I think, is actually a mistake. Queen e5 check. One huge problem being, if rook fe8 here, then white just plays this very simple move, but it is terribly strong. The point being, if now queen to e4, the queen was in a way attacked, you cannot exchange anymore, because an endgame like this just loses. d7 wins material next move. Black has no way to prevent this. So here the queen really needs to move, and let's say it goes to e4. Oops, I can actually play it. Then yeah, then white has more than one good move, but this is really strong. Attacking the bishop, going here, just drops it. So you pretty much need to go here, and after f7, yeah, well, where should the bishop go? There's simply no square. And let's say here, then white can just try to get rid of the queens, and then after this he's just winning, because the d-pawn will promote. I think here white is winning. So this queen d5 check actually just helps white, because you got rook d1 with the tempo, queen d1 with the tempo. So this check is just bad. So let's say queen h6, trying to avoid the queen trade. I think here white should maybe play rook e1. The problem, what you would like to do, the first kind of move that you get in your mind is queen e7, but this is actually a very bad blunder, as the queen doesn't have a square. Of course it has a square, yeah, okay, it can go here, but then it's terrible. White's king will get mated here in the end, even, I think. So it cannot do that. But you can play rook e1. As mentioned, this just prepares this move, as rook e8 now is of course simply answered with the capture, and you've got mate in 2. And what should black play here? It's really a problem. You don't have many moves, and white is intending to play d7. So let's say you play a nothing move like a6, then d7 just wins the game. It's just over. Nothing black can do. Something like this gets punished immediately with queen e8, and you still checkmate. Get mated in the end. So black cannot afford to make a nothing move. He pretty much needs to put a rook on d8. If he plays rook a to d8, then yeah, white can push this. No, it's protected. Sorry, I'm sorry, but white can play something like this here, with the idea after bishop move to play maybe queen g5, and this d7 move gets more and more dangerous. And this is also possible, but now white can actually play this if he wants, or he can consider rook a7 simply, because again this fails to queen e8, with mate to come. Checkmate. So I think white had a really good position when he made this terrible blunder. It's not completely clear cut, especially considering the time situation. But I think white was the one with the advantage in this position, and going rook e1 here was just really a terrible blunder. Yeah, Bacrot had a very up and down tournament. He won a very nice game against Marizovic in the beginning, but lost terribly a couple of games after this. So Hikaru won again, and but he's not able to win the tournament anymore before the last round, and this really promises a fun last round. We've got Magnus Carlsen leading with 17 points. Remember, this is the 3-point system. Magnus has got 17 points, leads alone, and then we've got Giri and Wang Hao following with 16 points. They're just 1 point behind. The final round game is Carlsen with white against Bacrot. So a win against Bacrot was not really in top shape. Would net Carlsen the tournament win, and okay, most likely he maybe will manage this, so he might win this tournament just by winning himself, but it's just a 1 point lead, and if he just plays a draw against Bacrot or even loses, then Giri and Wang Hao with a win could well actually still win the tournament, and they play each other in the last round. So we've got Giri against Wang Hao, or Wang Hao Giri. Wang Hao has got the white pieces. So I think they most likely will put up a huge fight trying to still win the tournament, which would be a huge success, of course, for both of them. And but Magnus has the opportunity with the win on his own to get a straightforward tournament win. Of course, this we have the third game is Nakamura against Bologan. Hikaru certainly will try to win again to get closer to the leaders, but he cannot win the tournament anymore. The loss against Wang Hao really ended all ambitions in this respect, the last round. Yeah, alright. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit of a sudden end of this game, but it was still pretty interesting, I guess. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll do a video on the last round as well. Cheers and bye.